Good morning and welcome to the shop here at Greater Westtown Woodworkers Training Program. My name is Doug and I'll be talking for the next 15 or 20 minutes or so about our program and the industry, and this live stream is really geared towards people who might be considering trying to get into the industry, and Greater Westtown is a great path for that if you're in the Chicago area. If you're not in Chicago, I'll mention a little bit later a couple resources that you could use to try to locate a training program or a school near you. But the woodworking industry is really a dynamic, growing industry in Chicago, and my understanding from people across the country, across North America, is that that is the case everywhere, and there's a huge demand for woodworkers in the industry. So our goal is to get people trained up and then placed into jobs in the local woodworking industry in Chicago. So I want to talk about our program, the industry in general, but before I do that, I want to say a couple important things about us so that I don't forget. First of all, our training is provided at no cost. Our goal at Greater Westtown is to provide opportunities for individuals to get training so they can get access to good jobs in the industry. So we have a whole staff devoted to working on finding funding, public funding, private resources to provide the training to you at no cost. So low-income Chicago residents, Chicago area residents, Cook County and nearby are eligible typically for the training at no cost. The best way to figure that out is to come see us or give us a call. So no cost. The program is also short term, so we're not asking you to go to school for 6 months or a year. We're asking you to commit to 15 weeks of training, and then we'll be working with you towards the end of that training to get you placed so that training leads directly into job placement in the industry. And then high impact is the last thing I want to say. So no cost, short term, high impact training. Our program is short-term intensive, the idea being we want to give you a solid foundation. I'm going to talk about the industry in just a second. It's a huge industry in Chicago. It's very diverse, a lot of different companies. Our goal is to give you a solid foundation so that you can leave here, get a job, and continue learning on the job and advancing and moving forward in your career in the industry. So, if this is something that you're interested in, or maybe you know someone who might be interested, is looking for a job, is looking for some training to develop some skills, I would encourage you to reach out to us. Our contact information is going to be scrolling by during the live session here. Also, you can find more about us in the About section, of course, on our main YouTube channel. So let's talk a little bit about the industry, because I think a lot of people are surrounded by wood products every day, things that we make as woodworkers, but don't really think about where they come from. So obviously there's furniture, cabinetry, things in your home. Beyond the furniture and cabinetry, think about flooring, any kind of standing and running trim, doors and windows, staircases, right? That whole category that we call millwork. Then other kinds of miscellaneous wood products, picture frames, musical instruments. All of those things are made by woodworkers. There are companies in Chicago manufacturing those things. Probably if you go to most of those shops, there'll be a Greater Westtown graduate working there. So in addition, think about a little bit more broadly. We have a category, I mentioned architectural millwork, that really covers any kind of wood products that are built into a building. When you go into these beautiful office buildings downtown and you see these elaborate woodworking panel installations and entryways, that's all the work of woodworkers and millworkers. And then we have some specialized parts of the industry. We work with museums in Chicago, so Chicago History Museum, Field Museum, that are building exhibits and displays, and a larger industry called Exhibit and Display that does all kinds of trade show exhibits, traveling exhibits, built-in exhibits for retail environments. So it's really a huge industry. People think about cabinets and furniture, but there's really a lot more to it than that. And the industry, I think, is exciting in the sense that you can really see the evidence of your work, right? I think that's what drew me to the industry, and that's what keeps me going. Obviously, I'm working with people, training them to get into the industry, but the idea of being able to see that end result of your effort, right? These are what we call high satisfaction jobs. It's very satisfying to finish a job, either go out and install it or ship it off to a customer, and know that you've built something that never existed before, that's beautiful, and that someone is going to cherish, hold on to, appreciate. It's going to enhance people's lives and hopefully make them happy every time they see it. So I think that's something that we hear from our graduates a lot, is that they just really, it's exciting for them to be able to point at something that they had a part in creating. So the other thing about woodworking and manufacturing jobs that I think a lot of people don't appreciate is these are not typical factory jobs anymore, right? We're not working on an assembly line, right? You can see behind me, this is a very typical woodworking shop. These are collaborative jobs. You'd be working as part of a team, working around a shop on various equipment, whether it's cutting parts, processing parts, assembling, finishing, and they're active jobs that engage your body and your brain. And I think this is something that people maybe don't realize when they're thinking about what they want to do for a living, but some come to appreciate the idea of being able to be active, be on your feet, but you're not just doing repetitive labor, and then also have your brain engaged, right? So you're working, solving problems. We have computerized equipment here in the shop, so it's really intellectually engaging and physically engaging, and you have that satisfaction of knowing that you've really accomplished something at the end of the day. So anyway, that's why, for me, that's my pitch in terms of why this is an exciting industry to get involved in. I want to just show you a quick project, the first project that students actually make here in the shop. This is our sliding table saw. If you're familiar with table saws, this may be a little bit unfamiliar. This is a pretty industry standard sliding table saw. We can cut large format material. So we're working with solid lumber, all kinds of panel products. We work with some plastics as well. This project here that I was just rolling into view is the first project, the first complete project that our students will make in training. And everything that we do, everything in the industry has to start out as an idea that gets put on paper. And at this point, this is a fairly well-developed project, so it's ready to be built. So we have a shop drawing here, and this shop drawing will eventually be turned into this small table. Actually, we're still not sure if it's a table or a stool. You could use it either way, but everybody will make a table very similar to this as their first project. It looks fairly simple. We're going to cover everything from interpreting that drawing to operating the various machines. This saw is involved right here. First week of training, you're going to be on this saw. And you'll be cutting parts for this box that becomes the top of the table. You might see this large, we start off with rough lumber here. So this is a typical piece of rough lumber that we'd have in the shop. And our goal is to turn that lumber into the individual parts that will then eventually get assembled into the solid wood frame supporting the table here. So that just in the frame there's probably 10 major steps, a lot of setup along the way, and we're going to teach you every bit of that here in the shop, including some joinery. So these are the parts for the base of the table there. So we have a nice we call it bridle joint here at the corner, and these pieces should slide together if I have that oriented right, and that's a good sign of a joint there, that you can slide it together. No glue, and it just kind of holds itself together, that kind of friction fit. So that's what we're looking for. So we'll cover how to set that up on a machine, how to prepare all of these parts. So a lot of hands-on technical skill in the program, and you'll get to keep a couple nice projects as you complete them. You'll be able to take them home. I'll show you our other big comprehensive project. So this is kind of our introductory project for the first couple of weeks. and then we move on to all kinds of other processes in the shop as we build on that foundation of what we've taught you along the way. So let me jump over to, it's very quiet here in the shop today. We're between classes, so I'd love to have some students talk to you. But I have some pictures from our previous class. So let me just put those guys up on the screen. So these guys just graduated, when I say guys, men and women. So this is a program that's open to men and women, 18 and older. And this is the comprehensive project that I just mentioned. So all of those panels on the box are custom veneered. So every piece of that wood has been selected and matched and then pressed to a panel that becomes this cabinet box. The base, this cabinet on its side now being assembled, that base is made from solid wood, so everything that you do in the shop you'll revisit again and again to really build those skills. And so we go through all that solid wood processing, all of the joinery for that mitered base at the bottom. And then what you don't see here is the top, and the top actually is an example of some of the plastic that we work with. We do Corian, or more generically, acrylic solid surface fabrication. So I'll show you that. I have one of these actual projects over here that I'll show you in just a minute. So in the shop you can see students working together. We have very close supervision. At this point in training, students, this would be in the last 2 or 3 weeks of training where students are doing final assembly. They've done some finishing here. Marcel here you can see is just doing some adjustment on the hardware, attaching the base to the box. So this has been substantially completed at this point. And students are working very independently. There'll be an instructor around. You'll see Charlie. There's Charlie. I don't know what he's laughing about there, but the students are having a good time, obviously. And you'll see that students are working very independently at this point, and then as they need help, they're coming to get somebody or checking in to make sure that they've got the process right. So early on in training, very close supervision. Safety is, of course, number one. We're going to get you through safety on all these machines. We have very modern equipment, so it's very safe equipment, and it's very industry standard. So what you're going to learn here in the shop translates directly to how you'll be working in industry. So this scene is kind of the far end of our shop over there, where we do assembly, and we kind of have this flow through the shop where we bring our raw material in and then do some of the big processing with the bigger machines, and then send stuff back where we do some detailing, finishing, final assembly. So let me just swing over here. As I'm swinging around, you'll see some other pieces of equipment here in the shop. But this is that actual comprehensive project that you saw students work on. I'm just going to pull it apart a little bit so you can see what's involved. This top is what I mentioned is Corian solid surface material. So this is a plastic, it's an acrylic plastic, and it can be machined with standard woodworking equipment, and a lot of shops will use this material. It's very common as a countertop, but even for furniture parts it's beautiful. Comes in a lot of different finishes, a lot of different colors and patterns. So it's a really nice material to know how to fabricate. We use a lot of routers, handheld routers, extensively when we're fabricating this. So now the box itself, you can see, has this really beautiful matched grain pattern. We call that book matching. So this is actually veneer, which is a thin layer of natural wood, and I've got some here somewhere. So here we've got some examples of a veneer face, right? So this thin material will get matched and pieced together and then pressed to the panel. So you can see from this side there's a lot of tape on there. That tape eventually comes off and we will have just that wood surface which can get finished, sanded and finished, and we get these beautiful patterns. So that's an example of veneering, and veneer is, the veneer process is a way to make really nice flat stable panels that have these beautiful matched surfaces on them. And this example has matching all the way around the sides. Really did a nice job. This is from one of our students in a previous class. So the project itself, visually it's fairly straightforward, but we build everything just like we would in industry by breaking it down. We start with a drawing, right? The drawing is going to give us all the overall details. This again would be a shop drawing where everything is detailed so that we know what the customer wants and how we're going to be building every aspect of it. Again, part of training is the print reading, so you'll learn how to interpret drawings like this and turn them into the finished product that you see here. We start out with some of the basic components. So this has this removable drawer box here. That drawer box is one of the first things we actually make in training, because we make a lot of boxes in the industry for cabinets, a lot of furniture, wall units, all kinds of built-ins are based on boxes. So box construction, making nice accurate boxes is an important thing to know how to do. And then we have the door panel here comes off. I can show you some of the hardware. This is pretty standard hardware that you would see on kitchen cabinets and furniture. And we have some specialized equipment to install the hardware, and then we use also some very standard equipment for some of the details here. This door panel is a little bit involved. It has some solid wood actually recessed into here, so that when we cut into this panel, we can see this solid wood where we have this finger pull so that you can open the door nicely rather than seeing the core material exposed in there. So eventually this all comes together. Add the solid wood base, and again, this is an example of a project that students made in a previous class, and they will take home with them at the end of training. For me, I think that's important that our students have this project. I mean, I have some stuff that I made very early on as a woodworker. I think the nature of our program is this short-term intensive training. So I think it's important for people to remember kind of, where they started and how far they got in such a short period of time. Because your career could be that as well, right? You're going to start in maybe an entry-level job, and you might have, you might be doing sanding or assembly. You might have kind of a narrow set of responsibilities. But as you learn and advance, it can happen very quickly. And we have students who get into companies and work their way up. We have got a number of students over the years who have moved into even management positions and now are in contact with us to hire from the program themselves. So a lot of opportunity in the industry, and I hope this is giving you a little bit of a taste of our program and also the industry in general. So if you're not in the Chicago area, again, if you are in Chicago and you're interested, I really want to encourage you to come out and see the program. We can only show you so much here. Behind me, I'll point out some of that equipment. We have a lot of specialized equipment, a lot of general kind of standard woodworking equipment as well. But we can only show you so much. On YouTube here, you'll see some Facebook posts, but I really want to encourage you to come out. There's no obligation to visit the program. Tell somebody that you're interested in applying. We'll get you set up for an application date. You can come in and take a look at the shop, talk to the instructors, see the projects in person. I think that's taking that first step can really be important. In general, I think people often tell us, oh, I've always wanted to do this, but I could never find a place to do it. We also hear, I could never do that, right? I've always wanted to do it, but I could never do it. And I just want to encourage anybody out there who's considering getting into woodworking, don't say no to yourself, right? Take a look, give it a try. If you're not in Chicago, you could look at the Woodwork Career Alliance, Architectural Woodwork Institute. Those are some organizations that so Woodwork Career Alliance is a group of schools across North America that train for industry specifically, and then the Architectural Woodwork Institute is a trade organization that you can see a list of companies in your area that you might be able to get a job with. If there isn't a training program in your area, you might be able to get employment directly. Some jobs are union jobs, many are not, so don't let that discourage you. And really, I encourage you to give it a try. For us, the key factor is not experience, it's not your math or reading levels, it's not, you know, how much you know, it's how much you want to do this, right? If you have that desire and that drive, you can make this happen. So that's a one bit of encouragement I want to give anybody who's thinking about this industry. It can be intimidating. I'm intimidated when I walk into some of these shops that we work with, and I see the amazing quality of the work they're doing. And you know, your first reaction easily can be, oh, I could never do that, right? It's kind of a natural, you know, humble reaction maybe. But you'll get there if you're interested and you want to do this. I love the fact that our students often will come in and they're amazed that they're going to be able to build something at this level of quality and detail and, you know, this amount of technical skill over the course of the training program. So yeah, so if you're in the Chicago area, again, if you or somebody that you know has interest in the industry, getting a job, learning a technical skill, you may know nothing about woodworking, but you might be saying to yourself, boy, I really would like to have a skill, right? I'd like to have a skill so I'm not dependent on one company or one workplace, that I can go and have options. And in Chicago, we have a huge, as I mentioned, a very diverse industry, so there's a lot of opportunity. So in closing, I just want to thank you for watching the video, and again, I'm going to leave our contact information scrolling for a minute, and beyond that, I just want to encourage you to consider a career in the woodworking industry, and come take a look at the program. We have some other training programs as well. You'll see a link to our website. You can take a look at other programs that Greater Westtown offers, and get moving on that career. So thanks for tuning in.